The small roadside diner sat on the edge of Route 66, its neon sign flickering against the twilight. It wasn't fancy, not the kind of place you'd drive hours for, but it had a reputation for warmth, homemade pies, strong coffee, and a jukebox that always seemed to know the right song. It was the kind of place truckers, bikers, and locals all stopped at, where you could sit alone but not feel lonely. Tonight, however, the atmosphere would shift in a way no one there would ever forget. In the far corner of the diner, by the window where the fading sun spilled a soft orange glow, sat a young girl named Emily. She was 17, with brown hair neatly tied back and a faded hoodie draped across her frail shoulders. Her wheelchair sat close to the table, its worn wheels a silent reminder of the car accident that had changed her life just 3 years ago. Once an energetic cheerleader, Emily had been left paralyzed from the waist down. Since then, her world had grown smaller, more silent, filled with stares, whispers, and the cruel kind of laughter that teenagers often aim at those who no longer fit in. Her father, Daniel, had brought her here tonight for pie and hot chocolate, hoping to lift her spirits. He sat across from her, a tall man with lines etched into his face from too much worry and too little sleep. Since the accident, his life had revolved around his daughter. Doctors' visits, therapy, endless bills. He worked double shifts at the factory, but somehow he never complained. What mattered was Emily. What mattered was keeping her safe in a world that hadn't been kind. The diner was quiet at first, save for the clink of forks and the low hum of conversation. But then, a group of high school kids entered. 3 boys and 2 girls, all dressed in varsity jackets, their laughter sharp and cutting as they slid into a booth near Emily's table. At first, they didn't notice her. But teenagers notice everything. And when their eyes caught the wheelchair, when they saw Emily staring down at her cup to avoid their gaze, the snickers began. "Look at her," one boy muttered, loud enough for half the diner to hear. "Wonder if her wheels come with turbo mode." His friends burst into laughter, the kind that carried cruelty beneath its surface. Emily stiffened, her knuckles tightening around her mug. Her father's eyes darkened, but he stayed silent. He'd been here before, seen how stares turned into whispers, and whispers into mockery. He knew confrontation would only make it worse for her. But each laugh was a dagger, and it was taking every ounce of restraint not to rise from his chair. Another girl leaned across the booth, smirking. "Bet she used to be a cheerleader. Now she's just cheerleader." Her voice dripped with venom, and the table erupted again. Emily's chest ached. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor. She could feel the eyes of the diner on her, some pitying, some indifferent. No one moved to stop the cruelty. Not the waitress refilling coffee, not the old man at the counter. People just watched. That was the worst part, the silence of good people when bad ones laughed. Tears welled in her eyes, and she tried to steady her breathing. But the laughter wouldn't stop. It grew louder, bolder, feeding off itself. Emily's father finally pushed his chair back, his jaw tight. He was about to speak, about to defend his daughter, when the door of the diner creaked open. And everything changed. The sound of heavy boots thudded against the floor as a group of bikers walked in. Leather vests patched with flames, skulls, and bold words stitched across the back. "Hell's Angels." The bell above the door jingled, but no one laughed anymore. The air grew thick, like everyone was holding their breath. They weren't just any group of riders. They carried with them a presence that demanded attention, respect, and yes, even fear. Tattoos stretched across muscled arms, chains clinked at their waists, and every eye in the diner snapped to them, including the cruel teenagers who suddenly shrank into their booth. The leader of the group, a tall, broad man with a gray beard and sharp eyes, scanned the room as though he could read every soul inside it. His gaze finally landed on Emily, the wheelchair. The tears she tried to hide, the flushed cruelty of the kids who had mocked her. And in that moment, something unspoken passed between him and his crew. They saw it, they understood it, and without a word, they moved. The bikers didn't head to an empty booth. They didn't walk past Emily. They surrounded her table, filling the quiet diner with the scent of leather and engine grease, their presence like a shield. The leader crouched down to Emily's level, his rough hands resting on his knees as he spoke in a voice that was deep but gentle. "Hey, sweetheart," he said softly. "Mind if we sit with you?" Emily blinked, startled. No one had ever spoken to her like that since the accident, not as if she was fragile, not as if she was invisible, but as if she mattered. She nodded slowly, wiping her eyes. Her father stared, stunned, but said nothing. He knew better than to interfere with moments like this. The bikers pulled up chairs, filling the empty spaces around Emily's table until it looked less like a father and daughter alone and more like a family gathered together. The leader leaned back, shooting a glance at the teenagers. "You kids find something funny over there." His tone wasn't loud, but it carried weight, the kind of weight that made silence fall heavy. The boys swallowed hard. One shook his head quickly. "And no, sir." The biker smirked, shaking his head. "Didn't think so. 'Cause what I saw wasn't funny. What I saw was ugly. And I don't ride with ugly." Emily looked at him, her lips parting in shock. No one had ever defended her like that in public. Not like this. She felt a warmth in her chest, something she hadn't felt in years. Dignity. The waitress approached cautiously, pad in hand. What can I get for you fellas?" "Pies," the leader said simply. "All of 'em, and hot chocolate for the young lady here. Best in the house." He winked at Emily, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she smiled. Around them, whispers rippled through the diner. Some people smiled, some looked nervous, but no one dared interrupt. The teenagers sat frozen in their booth, pale and silent. The balance of power in the diner had shifted, not through violence, not through threats, but through kindness backed by strength. As Emily sipped her hot chocolate, the bikers swapped stories with her. They told her about the roads they'd traveled, the sunsets they'd chased, the storms they'd outrun. They spoke of loyalty, of family, of standing tall even when the world tried to break you. Emily listened wide-eyed, her heart swelling with each word. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like the girl in the wheelchair. She felt human again, seen, respected. Her father sat back, emotion burning in his chest. He had spent so long trying to protect her, to shield her from the world's cruelty. And here, in the most unexpected way, these men society often feared, had done what no one else dared. They gave his daughter her confidence back, even if just for a night. When the pies came, the bikers made sure Emily got the biggest slice. They clinked forks together like it was a celebration, laughing and joking with her until her cheeks ached from smiling. The cruel teenagers had long since left, slipping out silently, their laughter dead and buried under the weight of shame. As the night wound down, the leader placed a hand gently on Emily's shoulder. "Don't you ever let anybody make you feel small, sweetheart. You hear me? People laugh because they don't know strength when they see it. But I see it. Right here." He tapped her chest softly over her heart. "And that kind of strength, it's louder than any laugh." Her tears streamed down Emily's face, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from hope, from the realization that kindness still existed in the world, even in the most unexpected places. When the bikers finally left, the roar of their engines filled the night sky like thunder, a sound that would stay with Emily forever. She sat in silence, holding her father's hand. Her heart forever changed. For the first time since the accident, she believed again. Believed that she wasn't broken, that she wasn't alone.